Hello, everybody. I'm David. I'm a target individual, and I'm here with Joel today. He's a target individual who's been targeted since 2021, maybe longer. Who knows? So, Joel, when did you realize you were a targeted individual, and what was going on to make you kind of see, hey, something's not right here?
That started in the beginning of 2022 with my ex and I having a lot of drama over a property dispute. And I just kind of noticed a lot of weird things, such as her speaking to my family behind my back, including friends, uh, painting me mentally ill as a domestic abuser. And after a PPO triggered in April of 2022, that's when I started hearing a lot of like loud vibrations throughout the house. So I was looking for these vibration noises and I couldn't pinpoint where it was coming from. My ex would always be in the master bedroom. So I was thinking that she was waiting for me to come in the master bedroom to start filming me, saying that, I'm aggressive, this and that. This was like during our whole court thing going on. But yeah, I noticed a lot of loud vibrations going on throughout the house. And also my ex was moaning the name Brandon. So like she was purposely trying to get my attention of these noises and basically trying to make me jealous. She was trying to get me really angry uh at her because this was for a PPO hearing coming up and she didn't have anything on me and I had a lot on her. So that's when it started.
Wow. So maybe she had access to somebody who had access to this program to do this to you. You,
That's what
you
I'm
think that's
thinking.
possible?
That is possible. So going back to the guy that told me about when he first started hearing this stuff, because this is what happened back in 2021. My friend was telling me about his experiences that he was witnessing of gang stalking and AI voices, and I could not hear anything that he was showing me. And so I went over to his house after work one day, asking him if he is okay, and he had his whole electric panel just ripped apart, rewired, and he was showing me his furnace. He's like, dude, you don't hear these AI, you don't hear anyone speaking out of this the furnace. And I listened and I couldn't hear it. So like, I don't know if his targets maybe targeted me as well because I was interested in like, dude, how are you hearing these things? And also his wife worked for government, including my ex fiance worked for government. So like, I don't know if his wife knew someone to put him in something, but my ex also works for government, and his wife was also attached to property as well, and they were going through it. My ex fiance and I are attached to property as well, and we're going through it. He was painted as a domestic abuser as well. I'm painted as a domestic abuser as well. And so I don't know if it has something to do with like my ex being attached to the property. And I'm like, I guess they're saying I'm refusing to sell the property. So they're going to try to, make me look
Huh.
crazy to either lock me away so they can just sell it or I don't know. But that's when I noticed was in 2022 with all the loud vibrations throughout the house that resembled the same story as my friend who told me when he started hearing all this stuff.
And I can relate to like I said, the story I told you a minute ago about my target, in which people who watch my channel have heard about me walking out of the hotel after 5 attempts to try to check in the hotel. I had money and everything, and they would always go to the phone right in the middle checking me in. Oh sure, we got a room, and they start checking me in. Then they get a phone call, and then they come, oh, we can't check you in. We're sorry, we're full for the night. And I walk out, and then I hear my wife's voice and her friend Jennifer. Look at him, he don't know what to do. He can't get a hotel. So I can really definitely relate to them experiences. And my wife also, and I know this to be true because I looked him up on Facebook, and I don't even know if they have anything to do with it or not. So I really don't speak on it much. But she used to brag that her ex was a 33rd degree Mason. Did some checking out. Sure enough, he was, and he brags about it all over his Facebook. He shows his degrees and everything. So she used to always. I caught her talking to him on Facebook a couple of times on Messenger, and I'm like, so I really think because she tried to paint me out to be a bad person like that too. You know what I'm saying? So this is
Yeah,
really making me correlate here. Like, wow, maybe there's some connections. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
right.
Uh, so you do experience V2K?
So what I'm experiencing is basically I'm hearing AI voices
Yeah,
running
that's
through
V2K.
electronic.
It's called
Okay.
Voice to Skull, Voice of God Weapons. Yes.
Yeah. So that's I can, like, if a car is running and if I turn on the AC, I was able to hear, like, it sounded like radio chatter at first, you know.
Yeah.
But I was also yeah, okay. I was also able to communicate with them with my thoughts. Were you
Yep.
able to do that? So
Yes.
you would, did you
You
ever
can
have
talk back to
conversations?
them. Yes, you can talk back to them and they'll answer you. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, when it first started, I actually thought it was really cool. Like, uh, I was at work and all of a sudden my head started ringing really bad and my ears were burning. And this was in 2022 of July. And this was after my ex moved out of the property. And all of a sudden, I could hear my ex speaking to me while I was at work. And because my friend told me about everything that he went through, when it happened to me, I kind of just smiled and I started just speaking with them with my thoughts communicating back. And one of the guys that I heard, his name was Brandon, which is one of the that's my ex's ex boyfriend that she was moaning. The name Brandon during when I was living at the house with her. He started speaking, saying we should have never done this because he already knows how to do it. Like, they were actually really impressed with how fast I caught on, and I was just communicating with them. I was actually having conversations like they were my friends. Honestly, like, it was pretty cool at first, but now it's to the point. Okay, this is scary now.
Yeah. Do they ever mumble any threats to you? Like mine mumbles threats like any day now you're gonna be kidnapped. I can't wait to see your head cut off. They serious stuff like and they like
Yeah.
doing it when I'm stressed and paranoid and they've done something to target me to be paranoid, then they'll inject them kind of ideas through voices.
Yes. At first it was happening. I didn't take it seriously until the day I went to the emergency room, which I can speak about that later on. That's when it was pretty serious. But then after emergency room, I began to learn how to use their technology against them. I was actually utilizing the AIs rather than having them harass me. Because since I was isolated, I could speak to my father's AI and just have a conversation with them, and they would give me advice on, like, how I should fix my father and I's relationship. Because these AIs know information about the
Yeah,
individuals that they're
they know
representing.
everything about you. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was actually utilizing them, and dude, I was having fun at first, but now I can't. Now it's serious.
Yeah. See, at first, what they do, and the reason they know everything about you before you're even targeted, they profile you for a few years. I'm talking about
Yeah.
profile, and so they know everything about you. And then probably once your girlfriend and you split up, or your wife, or whoever it was, she probably told them a lot of your fears, what makes you tick, and all that. So
Yep.
they know everything. You know what I'm saying? And
Yep. Which
I
is
can get
why I was hearing my ex moan the name Brandon while living with her. They were conditioning me, and my ears were burning nonstop while I was living with
yep,
her. Man, they were like pounding that frequency into my eardrums to say, "Hey, when you hear this, you're gonna hear these AIs, speaking with you." Like, I could not escape it. If I plugged my ears, I could still hear it, like, underneath my like bone.
yep,
Yeah, and she told them, like, I was jealous. So what I was hearing at first was just nonstop of my ex and a guy named Brandon having sex everywhere I go, every day. So, like,
wow.
yeah. So,
And for
but it didn't
anybody
make me.
watching right now and saying, okay, this interview is just crazy, they're hearing stuff, I'm going to cut it off. You need to ask, go to Chat GPT, or ask them what V2K is, and it'll tell you with voice to skull, real technology being used on American citizens to freak them out, scare them, drive them to suicide, ruin their life. It's a real technology. And Chat GPT, if you ask Chat GPT what V2K is, it's going to tell you. Now, it may say, well, some people think it's being used against them and it might be a conspiracy theory, but the technology does exist. It's being used, and it's horrific. Do you experience gang stalking? Do you get gang stalked a lot?
Yeah, so when I first started hearing the AIs in July, 2 days late, or it was 4 days later, it was July 12th. I was driving down Fulton and Diamond because I live in Grand Rapids area, and it was 11:30 at night, and there was a guy standing in the middle of the street, white hoodie, army pants, holding a white laptop, telling me to turn left, and I didn't turn left. I kept driving. I was hearing AI voices of like a guy named Brandon, Sophia, and Courtney, and Corey telling me to pull over, and I kept driving. And I drove to my friend's house that lived probably 10 minutes away. And I was freaking out because like I just seen a guy wearing military apparel, you know? And when I pulled up to my friend's apartment and I'm conversating with my thoughts with these people, like, what are you doing? What do you want? The same guy walked around my friend's house or apartment with the white laptop playing dubstep music and pointed at her door and just kept walking. And they're like, you better keep driving. But as I'm speaking with them, with my thoughts, I could hear my thoughts being projected out as the devil. And a kid started screaming because my thoughts were being projected. I don't know if what he had going on in his apartment, but like a kid could hear my voice coming out of his electronics. And even his mother came upstairs because he was screaming, and she started screaming. And I'm like communicating with the kid back. I'm like, dude, I'm not the bad guy. I'm not the bad guy, but it's coming out as the devil. So like that's when I started driving to Ann Arbor because they're telling me you better keep driving because the police are after you. So I was like freaking out because I was being they were trying to blackmail me, they said, for like murder. So I ended up
Wow.
driving to Ann Arbor, and that whole experience of like them communicating through the speakers of my car, telling me that I'm going to go to prison for life, this and that. It was a scary experience, but it was also actually kind of fun in a way because it got to the point where I was out in the middle of nowhere and I needed gas, and my phone was off because I felt like I was being tracked. They actually told me where the nearest gas station was. They gave me directions on like where to go because I was out in the countryside because I was freaking out. How are these people like knowing where I'm at, this and that? And I was about to run out of gas. I'm like, dude, please direct me to a gas station. They actually did, and I pulled up and I filled up my tank, and yeah,
Yeah, listen, I got a story. I mean, this gets crazy, man. Like, I was getting gangstalked really hard, and I had ran out of gas, and this old woman driving this van pulled over, and she said, "You need gas?" And she was the one stalking me. She said, "I got a whole tank. I got a whole gas can in the back for you."
yeah,
And
just
then
wait.
and then when I got the gas, she said, "You better be careful. It's evil out here. Have a nice day." I said, "What do I owe you?" She said, "Nothing." She said, "I had a feeling somebody would run out of gas." And I'm
Oh
like, "Oh, come on, man." And I was tripping out because I didn't know what gang stalking was at the time. So I was freaking out because the old
yeah,
lady was like off a scary movie or something, the way she acted. And it
right,
freaked me out. And then
yeah.
go ahead.
Like some other gang stalking things that I experienced are I was at my son's baseball game, and a group of middle-aged women sat behind me, and they started talking about groceries. Seems casual, but they're literally describing all the food items that were in my food pantry, including mentioning a green Hawaiian punch that I took out the morning of to drink. So, like, you know, you're sitting there and it doesn't seem harmless to anyone else, but they literally described all the food stuff that I was looking at that morning before my son's baseball game. So, how am I supposed to call the police and say, these people are describing things that are in my food pantry? It sounds
And by the
crazy.
way, Michigan is one of the only states that's got something against electronic harassment. There's laws against electronic harassment in Michigan. They're one of the only states that's put it in effect. Yeah, you can look it up.
Really?
I'll try to get it to you and email it to you after the interview. Yeah, they have,
Yeah,
but how do you prove it? You know what I'm saying? They got laws against it, but how do you prove it's going on?
right.
That's what I've been thinking.
Uh, another example of what I've witnessed was um I was at the library working on my court stuff, and I knew about what they were doing, and I was thinking words that they would not say out loud in the library because I'm I've seen people read my thoughts and say it out loud while they're on the phone looking at me. And so what I did was I picked the word, I don't know if I can say this, but pussy lips.
Yeah.
So while I'm at the library, I'm thinking it, and a guy on a cell phone walks by and he looks at me and he says it. He's like, pussy lips. And all of a sudden I hear like little children in the corner of the library. I didn't see them, but they were like saying my ex's name like 3 times. Like, so they said, you know, so and so, so and so, so and so, and then random people just walking up on their phones saying pussy lips. You know, like who would think of that word to say in a library
See,
without it?
this is a big project, and I think sometimes, the handlers or whatever just goof around sometimes, just to, you know what I'm saying? Just to, they got control, so they're like, all right, we're just going to play a little game today. You know what I'm saying? Be nice today and just joke around. I really think they do that. That's sick. This is sick and evil and sadistic to put somebody through that.
Yeah. Another thing that I've noticed, when I started hearing the AIs and this and that, they couldn't count. That's how I knew I wasn't schizophrenic. So I asked them count to 10. They couldn't count. Um, Going back to the gang stalking, um, when I drove back from Ann Arbor, I noticed a silver truck that was following me aggressively for a few miles. And I get to my friend's restaurant that he owns over on Madison Street in Grand Rapids. And I get out and I'm really tired. I'm sleep deprived, this and that. And I go to him like, dude, I feel like I'm being followed right now. And he's like, what are you talking about? And I point to the silver truck and I was like, that's the guy. And he's like, that's a Fed truck. That looks like a Fed truck. So I go inside and he's giving me something to eat. And all of a sudden, 4 people come in. The first person looked exactly like my ex-girlfriend, um, Courtney, that I used to date way back in the day. Exactly like her. And all of a sudden, the AI voices were like, look, it's your ex-girlfriend, Courtney so-and-so. But they said her last name wrong. So that was another clue of like, okay, I am not schizophrenic. And then following her coming in was 3 other people. And while I'm standing there looking at these people, I'm speaking to the AIs, and they're like, um, go say hi to your ex-girlfriend. I was like, I purposely picked a different person, an individual, claiming, oh, you mean the redhead that they sent in? They're like, no, your ex-girlfriend, Courtney so-and-so. I was like, oh yeah, the redhead. And they went along with it. They're like, okay, fine, the redhead. I was like, yeah, tell the redhead to put her right hand underneath the counter or on top of the counter. The redhead ended up putting her right hand underneath the counter. And I was like, no, 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 no. Have her put her right hand on the counter. And then eventually the redhead, when she was being waited on by the restaurant owner, put her right hand on the counter. So like all this was being done through my thoughts. And people that were in there were actually doing what I was asking them to do. And, just
Yeah,
seeing someone that resembled my ex-girlfriend, Courtney, someone that my ex that I was dating in the for the proper dispute hated the fact that I was talking to Courtney and her brother still because she was the one that was jealous. But like it was just weird.
yeah, they can mind control people to do what they want. They made me walk in a straight. They made me walk like I was in a trance. But I was sleep deprived because when I get gang stalked, and that's kind of why I'm agoraphobic. But when I get gang stalked, on the streets, like I will walk all day, just running from these people. You know what I'm saying? Because it freaks me
Yeah.
out so bad. Because my gang stalkers like to threaten me. They'll do stuff like that. They'll hold up machetes.
Oh shit.
They'll just crazy stuff to
Yeah.
keep me in fear. So, yeah, one day I was and this was when it first started. They made me walk in this trance. I was walking with one foot in front of the other, and they kept saying, if you step off the line, it's going to blow. And I thought I was going to be blown up if I stepped off the line. And then they said, now you're free to walk. You're off the mines. They made me think landmines. So I was walk. So then they're like, hey, back here behind the bushes. We're behind the bushes. So I went behind the bushes. They said, ha ha, made you look. I mean, they do all kinds of crazy stuff. And I'm saying,
Yeah.
seeing and telling these stories makes you just look bizarre. And that's what they want. They want you to look crazy. They want you to, that way, you know what I'm saying? To discredit you. I really think this is an experimental weapons because, they learn the art of mind control and all that. They can mind control leaders, or if somebody's coming up with an invention or something that's really going to hit the market, they can steal that invention. They can do all that stuff. And I really think the whole world's going to be rolled out on it, and that's what the purpose is, to get the whole world rolled out on mind control.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
There was also another crazy thing that happened. My son and I were driving to a soccer game, and I was asking him where he wanted to go to vacation, and he said the UK, and I thought that was really weird. I was like, "Dang, the UK! That's my son's 11 years old, and that's pretty cool." So we go to a soccer game, and then when we leave, uh, I noticed a white beetle with a UK flag stripe following us. And I was like, there is no way, especially where I live at, there is no way that that was a coincidence, right? Inside of the vehicle was the number 53. And it was so weird because I was seeing that number everywhere that day. Before I picked up my kid for the soccer game, I was just number 53 was popping out everywhere, right? So then I looked online for a white beetle UK type vehicle, and I ended up finding one a picture of it online with the number 53 on it. So it, and also that day, after I seen that white beetle, all of a sudden it felt like it was like a dopamine like rush of everything that I was seeing was connecting for some reason in my life. And it was kind of like, to represent it, it was like my life was flashing before my eyes. But if I looked anywhere, AIs would point out like what connects with my life. Like I looked at a girl with blonde hair. They're like, "Oh, look, it's your sister Lisa." Or driving down the road. "Oh, look, you just passed the road that you used to like live on because it was the same name um, road that I passed that I used to live on or whatever." Like it was just a weird, like heavy, I guess, ecstasy type moment that
Right.
kicked in, and everything seemed so clear just driving. Like I could not miss anything for any reason, especially the number 53 that day.
So what made you think, what made you, I mean, like, how did you find my channel? Like, what made you think, how did you figure out what a target individual was? Like me,
Uh
my ex actually sent me a video called Community Policing by James Harkin in 2018. She said, "I did this to you." And he's explaining gang stalking, blacklisting, and all that. And I'm like, wow. So that's what made me start researching it and realizing what it was. I
so
don't know if,
actually
huh?
your ex actually admitted that? Like
Yeah.
she wow.
She's, and then but you got to understand, then the text disappeared. They're in my phone. They made it disappear. So I didn't have the evidence. You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So I
Yep.
don't have the proof of that, but it happened. And that's how I found out. Yeah. They
Dang.
always cover their tracks.
Yeah. Okay.
And
Um
maybe she was knew I was in the program, and maybe she didn't have nothing to do with it, but she was trying to take the credit for it. You know what I'm saying? Because I
yeah.
really think it was the business that I sued, but you know,
I
I think
found
she
your
had a little part to play in it.
right. I found your channel because I've been desperately looking for someone to listen to me. I've spoken to Kent County Sheriff Department several times about these occurrences of stalking, uh, uh, chest pain, headaches, this and that, and even my son now is being affected by it, which is why this is important now.
Mm.
Um, but like no one wants to investigate. I contacted FBI and I have like 2 years worth of evidence, videos, documents. No one wants to acknowledge anything, nothing. And it's so weird because my brother's best man, who was also a very high level official, traveled to Russia in 2021 and came back, and he was at my mother's celebration of life. And everyone who was at my mother's celebration of life became an AI. Like I was able to speak to these AIs of who was at my mother's celebration. So I even went to my brother's friend and I'm like, "Dude, I believe you're being targeted now. This is important because this is what's happening. Will you please reach back? My son's in danger. I'm in danger. No one's listening." And even my brother's friend never got back to me. And I don't know if his thoughts are being read, but he was in Russia trying to figure out who was selling the Russian secrets. So like that's where Russia comes in. Like I'm literally doing my best to keep people safe, and no one is helping.
Right.
So yeah,
Wow. Well, I'm glad you found my channel. I mean, I got a lot of, the reason I did this channel, the whole reason behind the channel is because, you know, I I had like three major attempts on my life because of this stuff. I didn't understand what was going on, so I figured, well, I'm gonna do a channel and explain, dig deep, investigate all this stuff, and start putting out information. That way, people can understand they're not crazy, you know,
Yeah.
and this stuff's real. So, and explain to them how they're doing it. You know what I'm saying? Because if I'd have had them videos, it would have saved them three attempts on my life. I would have never done them if I'd have knew that I wasn't crazy. I just thought I went crazy. So
Right.
I'm going.
So something real quick, going back to like the sheriff department or even medical records, I was picked up mentally. I was mentally involuntarily put in pine rest by my ex, and they were saying I was hearing things that were not there in the house while she was in the master bedroom this whole time, right? And in the recordings that I have, you can clearly hear the loud vibrations, but yet the police didn't even acknowledge the loud vibrations, saying, I don't hear anything. Well, fast forward to right now, after seeing the judge, after showing my attorney, my therapist, and even another lawyer, they can hear the loud vibrations. So I have two petitions on my record that are bullcrap, painting me as a schizophrenic, even though what I was claiming is in the petitions, I was hearing loud vibrations throughout the house and I was looking for it, where this noise was coming from. So like those two petitions are what's destroying my credibility right now because these doctors don't want to acknowledge the evidence that I have. They're like, well, you do have a past history of mental illness.
Does your ex have anything to gain by you being mentally ill? By them painting, like, is there, like, you think they might have done this to you to paint you as mentally ill to take everything you got or take stuff from you? Is that possible?
So what's weird is everyone has something to gain. My family, which I've been isolated from, I've been kicked out of the family business,
Yeah.
now booted out of the family will, and I lost a good chunk of money that I was promised from the family business. My ex would have something to gain with her just, you know, being the jealous type of me possibly killing myself. She told me she was going to get me arrested and put in prison. She's told me that before, so I don't know if she's behind it, but I know that I'm hearing my ex's voice and my family's voice when it first started. So I don't know exactly who's put me in this program, but I know that no one wants to help me out, acknowledge me, and they all just kicked me out of the family.
And
Friends
that's
are
what's sad about targeting. Nobody wants to help. And it's like, even if you go to somebody who's been friends with your whole life, they'll start shying away from you and acting weird towards you. You know what I'm saying? Have you noticed that? Like, and then, like, if do you ever go to businesses and they close the businesses when you get there, or and say that they're not open, or do you go to businesses and it seems like you're blacklisted? Or have you ever went to a church to ask for help or something? They say they don't help people, but then you see people getting help. Any blacklisting going on? Have you noticed?
no, but I unfortunately don't have a life right now. Like I'm either at work or I'm at home. Because of everything that's happened with the civil lawsuit, it has drained my bank account. So like
Wow.
I go out in public too much, and this is why I'm telling I've been recently telling the sheriff department like every time I go out now, there is just some strange synchronicity thing because that's how the AIs speak to me is through
Yep.
sync moments because I'm a huge believer in synchronicity. So it's just like how is it I go to a library and that's like I'm every time I'm having something happen there, you know, like at a public library, you know. So
Yep.
like,
They're
uh,
synchronizing all them things around you.
yeah,
Man,
yeah, and that's how I'm noticing. Like, okay, I'm definitely being followed and stalked, and it's they're dressed as old veterans, but different military branches. Like they'll represent the Marines, the Army, Air Force, and there was one incident where I was going to the library and it opened up at 12 p.m. and I pulled in the parking lot and there was a car there with a military license plate, which I've been seeing a lot of lately. And when I pulled in, I got out and they were just sitting there. And I go up to the door, the library's closed. So as I'm walking back to my car, that's when the car that was sitting there pulls out and starts driving away. Like, so they were like sitting there the whole time. I get there, get out, going to try to get to the library, and then they start driving away. Like, because that was one of the main things I told to the sheriff was like, I'm seeing all these military license plates now everywhere I go, and I don't know what's happening lately with like people are claiming to be Russian around me now, like Russian. And I went to the police station for a police report, and there was even like a weird setup there where there was two women filling out paperwork to get a gun permit, and they were talking about, well, I'm Russian, so I'm going to fill out. I speak Russian, like, and it was right
And,
right in front of me. And then same thing at the library. Two people are asking the librarian, like, if I was to print out Russian font, what's the best way to do it? Should I do it in colored or black and white? And the librarian was like, well, if you speak Russian, I guess it doesn't really matter if it's colored or not. But yeah, two different people, two different times at the library was asking questions about Russian font.
and you know
Like,
what? The Homeland Security meeting, if you go to my channel, I don't know if you saw the Homeland Security meeting clip I put on there where they're talking about these weapons being used on people and people being targeted, but they're trying to blame it on Russia. So maybe they're trying to make you think it's Russia because that's who they're trying to put this off on is Russia. They're saying Russia's doing this to us. So
right. And I did notice it's whatever you're thinking of is what they're going to be correlating off of. And since I was trying to speak with my brother's best man, the guy that was went to Russia and came back, I'm thinking that has something to do with why I'm starting to see now military like old vets talk about Russians lately around me, you know?
yeah,
And I don't I don't try to take pictures of them anymore. Um I think that's kind of why I had a good relationship with them because when things would happen, I'm not trying to record them. I just let it happen and I'm just taking notes. I'm listening to what they're saying. And yeah, I mean, it started off as a really good relationship, actually. They were actually upset that I was targeted. I was targeted for the wrong reason, they said. Like they were given the wrong info. And they were seeing actually how good of a person I actually was throughout this whole thing of me losing everything while I'm trying to help people. So they like that's something that really bothered them. They said, I don't know if they're telling the truth, but because a lot of these mind games that they do, they're just trying to get your feelings to be feeling good, so they can just bring you right back down and
yeah.
commit suicide. And that's what they've been trying to do now. Now I'm noticing like they're trying really hard to break my mental state right now. And that's one thing they admitted to me was I'm never depressed. Like I've lost so much money. I lost my whole life basically, and I'm still smiling. And they can't seem to get me down, and this is why they're targeting my kid now. This is why it's actually important. And my kid's been complaining about these chest pains when I would feel them. He's now complaining about them, and I don't mention this to my kid. And I have video recordings of my kid complaining about it. And even at his baseball game, he was complaining about it. And there was this suspicious guy there with a scooter and a backpack pointed at the baseball field. And even um, my son's coach was mentioning like how there was a weird vibe that day where all the kids just seemed off and we're about to lose to the worst team in the league. And like he just couldn't believe how bad we were doing. So like I don't know if that guy in the scooter had something, but I know when he left, my chest stopped hurting, my son's chest stopped hurting. Like it was just weird. It was yeah.
Well, do me a favor, man. No matter what, do not commit suicide or don't go and commit no major act of violence, man. Because you know what? Every time something like that comes to your mind, you need to say to yourself, I'm going to beat this. I'm not going to let them defeat me. Because that's when
Right.
you defeat it. That's what they want you to do. So that's what urges me to say, all right, I'm going to keep going. I'm not fixing to do that again. You know what I'm saying? I'm
Yeah.
going to keep
Yep.
going. I'm going to try to do something positive today. Or, if I'm having a bad day, somebody's always got it worse. I'll write a gratitude list in my head like, okay, there's some dude and there's some group of people in Africa waiting on America to drop food and they're hungry and they might not get none because they might not be a good enough fighter to get none because they're going to fight when they drop it. I could be one of them people. So it makes me feel, you know what I'm saying? It can always be worse. And that's what
Yeah.
I try to do when I'm having a bad day is think of something to be grateful for.
Yeah. Yep. And they called me Mr. Brightside. So yeah. Yeah, they also speaking of like try to do crimes and stuff, when I first started experiencing the AIs, they put me in the emergency room. They got it to the point where like my head was hurting so bad I had to call the ambulance. So when I was in the ambulance, even the guy that was in the back of the ambulance noticed that the radio, there was tons of like weird voices coming out of it, telling telling me that I'm about to go in cardiac arrest. And even the guy that was back there with me was looking at the radio really strange, and he undid my blood pressure reader and um pulse reader and all that. And I believe he did that because he was hearing that these people were like, look, he's about to go in cardiac arrest. So when I get to the hospital, the emergency room, they roll me in and I'm just sitting in the room by myself for a while. And all of a sudden I could hear it was over the intercom of my ex and a guy named Brandon and Courtney and Corey, along with my son's voice being projected out of the intercom. And my son's crying, and they're saying that they're going to rape and kill my child if I don't start doing inappropriate things with the nurse. So when the nurses came in, they're like, grab her breast. And I'm saying, no, please don't make me do this. I'm saying it all with my thoughts. And they're like, no, we're going to kill your kid if you don't do it. So with the back of my hand, I touched the nurse's breast, and I'm looking at her to let her know, like, something's not right here. So I do it with the back of my hand, and they're like, do it again to her butt now. And when I did it to her butt, back of my hand, she turns around and she's like, don't do that again. Dude, it was like a bad acting porno, is what I was witnessing. It felt like the
Wow.
nurse knew what was happening. And then they're like, do it to the guy nurse. And I'm like, no, please don't make me do that. And they're like, yeah, touch his butt. And I did it with the back of my hand.
Wow. See, that's sick.
Yeah. And then they
That's
had
sick.
me,
They're
they had
then they
me,
threatened your kid's life with it. And see, this stuff's real, y'all, and that's sick, man. I can't believe they're doing that, man.
dude,
So you're ter-
they had,
and it's real because you really think, well, they are going to kill it. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, because this was my first experience of like,
Do you
hearing
ever
my,
wonder what would have happened if you hadn't obeyed them?
right?
Maybe it wouldn't. Maybe it was all a mind. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Maybe they were messing with your mind, and maybe they wasn't going to do it at all. They were just seeing how far they could push you.
Yeah. And it got to the point where they told me to start masturbating in the emergency room. And that's what I had to do. And that's when they said, all of a sudden, I started hearing like a whole family gathering. And they're like, oh, look, your whole family's outside the door. And this was like midnight. And I'm like, my whole family. And all of a sudden, my dad walks in and he
Man,
sees, and my dad is the business owner that I worked with, and I was going to be future co-owner of. And that was a really embarrassing moment. But like, just the fact that like they had video clips of my whole family gathering, it sounded like, just playing, and then like your family's here, and all of a sudden my dad walks in the emergency room like door, and then I got sent to Pine Rest that time right
wow.
after, because I was listening to these commands telling me to do stuff, and I
Yeah.
never did. Like now because Dominic wasn't being hurt, my son wasn't being hurt at all. So then I started catching on, like, okay, they didn't have my kid with them like they said they did. So
Have you ever heard of Robert Duncan?
yes, yep,
Yeah.
I just started hearing him. I started watching his stuff recently.
Yeah, because a lot of the stuff you're going through, he explains in the book Project Soul Catcher. He's also got a book called The Matrix, Deciphered or Decoded. I can send you a link where you can find them books and read them for practically just free. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you go to Avalon Library and it's all connected, you don't no space AvalonLibrary.net, you can read all his books for free.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And so, because it'll help you understand a lot of how they're doing this stuff and what they're doing to you. You know what I'm saying? Because it goes a
Right.
lot deeper than what he talks about in his videos. He can only talk about so much. Matter of fact, he put a post on Twitter the other day where his new book he was going to write, he got warned that if he released it, he would be facing a lot of trouble. So he's scared to release it now. He's not going to release his new book
Oh, okay. Dang.
because
Wow.
he's the one that made these weapons or helped make
Yeah.
these weapons.
Yeah.
I mean, this
Yeah,
is some
it's
sick
good that he's
stuff.
coming out.
Yeah, I'm glad he's coming out, but maybe, I don't know. Sometimes I think, well, maybe he's controlled opposition, but I don't think so. I think maybe he did have a good heart and been like, okay, it's going to be used for bad. I need to warn these people because he did come out and he was even on Jesse Ventura show. I don't know if you've seen that one. Yeah. So anyway, I mean, a lot of the stuff you're saying, I've read about how it's done in the books. That's why, this is an interesting interview. Because you got a lot of detail and stuff. I've noticed like my trauma, and ever since I started doing these interviews, the more I do the interviews, uh, the more memories come to my head about what I went through and what I'm going through now. You know what I'm saying? Because some of the stuff back in when I was first targeted was erased from my mind, and it's coming back to me little by little now because they were very traumatic events. I was in a state of fear at all times. Do
Yeah,
you
you
ever
know,
experience? Go ahead.
going to the erasing the mind. I didn't believe in that. I was they told me that they erased memories from me, but like I was rethinking like, well, if you erase them, how come I remember this? It's just I'm choosing not to remember it. But as of lately now, I can kind of see where you're coming from with things being erased from your
Well, I
mind.
don't think they erase it. I think the trauma, when you experience a traumatic event, I think it's natural to block it out.
Yeah, either that or they're running AI programs of them manipulating your thoughts of like to think certain ways, and they're just constantly having AIs just like you're gonna kill yourself, you're gonna kill yourself, you're gonna kill yourself, or you know, like you have to change your thought process, and it's hard, but like that's why if you're depressed in this simulation type thing, you are gonna have a hard time. They're gonna not let you ever be happy. That's why you have to constantly think being happy. Because if you're thinking just about being sad, depressed, how you're losing everything, they're gonna work off of that, and they're gonna have all the
Well, see,
emotions.
the bad thing about it is some victims are so depressed because, like me, there's some days like I can barely move or get anything done. Like they hit you with these weapons. Some people get, I don't know if you've experienced direct energy weapons yet, but they get
Yeah,
hit so hard, they're drained. Like my whole body starts vibrating. I get shocks to the back of my head. I get nauseated. My head heats up, and I'll just lay here suffering all day. And some people get it worse than others. So that's why some targets you see are so negative, because they don't know how to deal with it. And shielding, I haven't found um, any good shielding that works. There is a guy who claims that he's figured out a way, and I believe him, but I haven't really followed up on it, so I don't want to say for sure. But there's days I've sat here with half-gallon water bags over my head because when you're getting hit, especially when they're hitting you in the head, making your head hard, you get Ziploc bags full of water, and I would lay and just have them covering my face and just lay there because it would take some of the intensity out. Water kind of blocks it. So that's what I think. That's why a lot of targets are getting hit really hard with radiation weapons. So they get in this mood of depression, like, man, they're killing me anyway. I don't know what to do. So what
yeah,
they're doing is different targets experience different things. You know what I'm saying? You might not experience what I experience, and they do that because if everybody was experiencing the same thing, we could all come together and be like, yeah, yeah. But what they do is you're not experiencing what I'm experiencing, so you might tell me your story, which me and you do got stuff a lot alike, especially with the V2K. But uh, so a target will be like, oh, he's not a real target. He don't experience this, and I'm going through worse stuff than him. You know what I'm saying? So we're all comparing targeting, and then we're thinking each other's perps, and it keeps us divided.
yeah, yep.
I want
It's
to, hey, could you? So
yeah,
this dude was in the middle of the street with a computer saying, "Go left."
yeah, yep.
Wow.
I was actually gonna get back to that. Okay, so
Yeah.
the guy, I think his name's Brandon, but yep. So he shows up at my friend's house. I could hear my thoughts being projected out as the devil, and they were telling me that I was speaking too loud to quiet down. I guess they had to adjust like the volume of what was happening because I was looking at like even radio towers, and I could hear my like it was echoing through the sky of me conversating with these people. And they're like, "Dude, shut up, man, shut up," because I was speaking too loud. Um, I also hired a private investigator that did a database research, and supposedly they found my son and I on the dark web being stalked by 6 different people, and my information's being traced, or I'm being tracked by a military satellite. And I even had, so I gave that to the sheriff department, and they're saying it's fraud. Sure, it might be fraud, but like this, all with all the experiences that I've been saying, and with all the proof, and even the investigator saying, yeah, you've been found on a military satellite. How are they not investigating anything?
Now, did they tell you they could make your target and stop?
Are you talking about the AIs, or are you talking about like
No,
authorities?
the dude who said he found your information on the dark web and stuff, did he say he can make your stuff stop?
Yeah, dude.
Don't pay nobody nothing. There's people scamming people, and they're showing them. They're making all these profiles and stuff, and making like top secret, acting like they found you on the dark web, and they're like, "All right, give me $5,000. I'll get you off the list. Your target will stop." I know countless of targets who have done that and got ripped off. Nothing
Yeah,
stops. So don't go for it, man.
right, right. Yeah, so I gave the sheriff department their info and all that, but apparently they have their warrants, they're all legal in that. So, and they also have my evidence to support that I believe either my family or my ex or someone that they know. That's the thing. They're like, why would your ex do this, or how would your ex do this? I'm not saying my ex is doing it. I'm saying that my ex probably knows who is doing it. But like the private investigator said, they have all my info encrypted. So like I would have to pay for it to be decrypted. But when I found out I was on the military satellite, I was put in the emergency room again that I was having heart attack symptoms. And when I get to Butterworth Hospital, my heart attack symptoms calm down, and I tell them I don't feel safe staying the night here because my son and I were just recently found on the dark web, and I'm being traced by a military satellite. They claimed that I was delusional and paranoid, and they sent me to an institution for 11 days, even though I had a whole conversation with the investigator proving what I was saying and being told was not me, but it was someone else telling me this stuff. So like it's crazy that it might be a scam, but still, if someone's saying that they have evidence, why is the authorities not taking action of what I'm claiming and trying to find out what's going on?
Right, because they're told to cover it up. Is what I think.
Yeah. So like even Grand Rapids police, they're not helping. FBI is not helping. FBI and Grand Rapids are not helping.
Next time you go, mention the law. I'm gonna send you that law when I'm gonna find that law and send it to you. There's a law in Michigan that came out. Matter of fact, Michigan was the first state about electronic harassment and how it's illegal. Yeah, so mention that law to them. Say, well, if this is not real, then why is there a law that's against electronic harassment?
Yeah, that would be awesome if you do send me that.
Oh, I'll send it to you for sure, man. I just got to look it up.
Yeah. Uh,
Do you experience us? Did you go through any smear campaigns? Like you know what I'm saying? People ruining your name everywhere when your targeting started.
Court documents, tons of lies about me, and unfortunately, it's been a battle trying to clear my name with that. Um, my ex put in a Facebook post about me being a domestic abuser, mentally ill, did not
And you're
help.
not none of those, right?
Yeah,
You're none of
not,
those. See, that's what I'm saying. I'm just trying to paint the picture to the people
yeah.
looking.
I have like I swear the most documents painted me to be this horrible person, yet the cleanest record. Like I have the most documents in Kent County, I swear, and they're just painting me as this evil person. And it worked, but like now that I'm still not in prison, or I'm not in the mental institution, or I didn't commit suicide, now everything's starting to look like everything was made up. Like, wait, you're saying this dude's mentally ill? He hasn't even been back to the institution since a couple of years ago. You know, like so,
Wow.
and he hasn't been arrested. He hasn't been charged with any domestic abuse, nothing. So that's finally my name is starting to become, cleared in a way.
Well, that's good. Yeah, because I tell targets, man, when you're going through smear campaigns, especially at the beginning of your targeting, just continue being a good person. Don't try to defend yourself. Well, you try to defend yourself, but don't overly try to defend yourself. You know what I'm saying? Just be a good person because your character will speak for itself
Yes.
eventually.
Yep.
unless you got, if somebody called me up, like one time I was in New Orleans on Bourbon Street, and this dude was like, uh, look at you. We know you're a child molester and all that. And I said, look here, dude, come here. I said, I got the money. I said, I'm gonna pull my record up right here. I said, I'll pay for my record right now and show you. I don't have none of them charges on me. And he's like, I said, you gonna stay here? Let me prove it to you. And then he said no. And I said, well, shut the up and get out of my face. I said, because I'm none of them things. You're being lied. They're lying to you. And sure enough, he just walked off because I was ready to pay for my record to show, look, there's nothing on my record. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Huh.
Right.
So, because they try to spread lies and stuff like that, and so yeah, that's probably one of the worst things you can go through is when everybody's looking at you. Your stalking first starts. Everybody's looking at you like you're just some bad person. You know what I'm saying? You know you're not. Uh,
Yeah.
like it's just like I was so mad at the world for a while when this first started, and then I had to learn, hey, it's just making when you're mad at the world and then you're mean to everybody and hateful to everybody because of what's going on with you, it just makes their smear campaigns look like they're real, like they're valid. You see?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they want you to snap out. They want you to be mad at the world because it just makes them look right about what they're saying about you.
Yeah. And I've noticed that they've been trying to get me to go to my ex's house and do something, or my father, this and that, but I just ignore it. And now it even got to a point. This was it got to a point where like I would have bad emotions about what has happened and the relationships that I had, but the AIs were telling me like it's not worth doing anything to them anymore. Like so they like I even had like the AIs on my side.
Yeah, they
And
play good cop, bad cop.
yeah, a lot, but they were doing. I guess okay, you're right. Good cop, bad cop. That's what they were complaining about. Is like I was always able to get the AIs on the good side. And going back to the good cop, bad cop, another reason why I think my ex knows someone that's doing this to me is because she put me down as on her phone as Jekyll and Hyde. You know, Jekyll and Hyde. So
Yeah.
yeah, so like that's just like another like a hint of what was going on.
Wow. So uh do you experience any microwave weapons at all? Like
Um,
what I mean by that is like, do you ever experience like you do kind of V2K is really remote neural monitoring, but it can be done through the frequencies can cause your ears to burn, like you said. But I'm talking about like your head heated up, where it feels like your brain's boiling, your head gets real hot, or any shocks or vibrations, or little pinpricks like bee stings all the time, and then you'll get a red mark start itching. Any kind of direct energy weapons like that, attacks.
yeah. At first, I even have all these emails to my lawyer. I was like, dude, I feel like I'm being hit by a magnetic weapon because I was sending him all these recordings that I have, and he could not hear anything that I was saying, like that I was hearing. And I'm like, dude, I feel like she's trying to like she's turning something on in the house that's affecting my breathing and my chest pain, is what I was basically telling him. So I have all these emails with my lawyer, and then eventually just thought I was mentally ill, so that did not help. But that the directed energy weapon attacks started going away after the court hearing in 2022, but have recently picked up really bad now, which is why I needed to speak with you because my son is being hurt right in front of me now, and it's to the point now where I'm being affected at work, and it only happens around like when I'm working at midnight or 3 a.m. And I was actually working next to a guy who recently just passed away from a heart attack. And from what my aunt told me, he was a healthy guy and exercised, and they don't know. She didn't understand how he had a heart attack, but so like I even put that in the sheriff report as well recently. Like I was hearing cricket noises and whale talk, and I was uh, feeling chest pains at work. So then I contacted the sheriff, made a police report right after work, and then a couple weeks later, the coworker that I usually work next to passed away from a heart attack. And I've been experiencing these attacks since May 18th all the way until now.
Yeah, cricket
So
noise is a telltale sign of direct energy weapons.
Yeah, and I have pretty good. I have a really good recording of whale, like a whale talking noise that
Right.
that I've been experiencing as well. But yeah,
Wow. Do you have you ever met have they ever sent a honeypot after you, or a honeypot in your life to try to get close to you, get information, and be part of your targeting behind the scenes? You know, like a girl trying to, uh, but it's all a setup.
yeah, but I never. They talked about going out, like go have fun, go meet people, this and that. And okay, so I did actually. So I go downtown, and they're telling me like, why don't you go to the bar, this and that, go talk to the girl in the pink dress, you know. But I never did anything that they were telling me to do. Um, they did convince me to follow a group of bikers, which I almost got my ass beat. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, they're like, you see those bikers, like sit there and just like wait for them to come up to you because we're gonna send them to you. And these bikers were looking at me like, why is this? Because it was in the alley area. So I'm sitting there, and all these bikers like, dude, what's your problem? And I'm just like looking at them, waiting to say like, oh yeah, we were sent by so and so to tell you something. But this is like when I first started experiencing it. But yeah, thank God they didn't do anything. But it was weird because the same biker people were just driving up and down the same street, like nonstop. So like I feel like they were actors that were involved in what was happening.
Yeah, that's what you call street theater.
Yeah. And as far as the honeypot thing, I received Facebook message from my friend Corey's mother, and his mother. I used to date her daughter. Her daughter's name was Courtney. So when I received this Facebook message from the very beginning of her asking me how I'm doing, how's my family, they provided a link, and I clicked on it. And a month later, that's when I started hearing all these AI voices of like my ex girlfriend Courtney, my ex girlfriend Sophia, uh, and then my best friend Corey, and yeah. So like I feel like that had something to do with it as well, and that's why they sent in someone that looked like my ex girlfriend Courtney at the restaurant.
Yeah, I had this girl message me, let's see, 2 years ago, and said she was a targeted individual, and she's like, um, you can run off of me and get married. I'm ready to marry you. And this was the first message. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, I blocked her. You know, I didn't respond because a lot of times, a lot of what they do is for reactions because they're trying to create a cognitive model of your brain. So the more reactions of emotion they get, the more they can complete that cognitive model. Kind of like Avatar. You know how Avatar they have that, yeah, and the dude could take control.
Yeah,
It's heterodyning. I don't know if you know what that is. I got videos on it. It's called EEG heterodyning, where they basically clone your brain to a cognitive model, and then they can control your limbs, they can control your actions, they can put voices in your head, they can make you hear different people's voices, whoever voices they want.
yeah. You know,
But it sounds like you were targeted for revenge, kind of like me.
yeah. That's what I think as well. Because going back to why I think I was targeted, my stock picks and all that, people were buying stocks that I was buying, and because I didn't cash out because they were following what I was doing, they ended up missing the opportunity to cash out tons of money as well when the stocks crashed. So I think that has something to do with it because my family was doing the same thing that I was doing for stocks. Um, or it could be my ex that is a jealous person. All I know is it's definitely either my ex that knows or my family.
Why didn't
One
you?
of
Why didn't I'm curious? Why didn't you cash out the stocks when they were going up when they were up? Did something tell you not to cash them out, or
there's
did you?
something not to. You know what's weird is like,
Because you could have cashed them out and been rich, couldn't you?
yeah.
You
So
just
like,
wanted to keep going.
dude, I was like beating the odds of like all these chart readers saying, dude, cash out. It's about to go down. It's about to go down. Read the charts. You know, this isn't normal. But my intuition was saying, no, I'm going to keep holding. And it got to the point where it was $2, and the CEO of the company said that we're not going to dilute this and that. So my intuition was actually correct. But unfortunately, they were denied in bank funding. And when the stock started crashing, They even announced a reverse split, and I'm like, no, they're gonna cancel that. They're gonna cancel the reverse split, and they did. Like, so my intuition knew, like, for some strange reason of what was going to be happening with the company. But the reason why I didn't cash out, I don't know. My dad didn't cash out. My uncle didn't cash out, and it just, I don't know. But the AIs did tell me though, if I would have cashed out, I would have been killed, especially because my ex was on beneficiary account.
Oh yeah. So if you'd have cashed out, oh okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know why I didn't cash out. I wish I would have now, but
Yeah. So basically all you do is go to work and then go home, right? Because you don't
yeah,
want to be
but
bothered with all the psyops.
yeah, honestly, I wish I could go out in public, but I don't have any friends anymore, and I don't have money. Once I sell my property and pay off all my debt, I'll be out in public again. I'm not going to let them beat me.
Right. Wow. Yeah, because I haven't, let's see, November or December 2022 is the last time I've been out of my house. This program has made me so agoraphobic. I get very I can't breathe when I walk outside the house. Like if I'm going somewhere in public, I get where I can't breathe. I start freaking out. I start feeling fear, panic, looking for exits. It's really like messed my head up. Like they stalked me so hard and did so much psyops on me. It's really, and so I'm like, so I just try to help people on my videos and stuff, uh and try to help targets cope with this, even though yeah, they're coping with it better than me because they can leave the house. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah,
And it sucks, but and I hope one day maybe I am able to. I get Ativan prescribed, and I've even took a couple of Ativan and tried to go out, and just I still you know panic.
right. Yeah, I wish I could go out. It's just I don't have the money. But I know once I do go out, I probably will meet that honeypot because they keep talking about like go meet someone. So I don't
Yeah,
know
and
if
I got a video on honeypots. So I don't know if you know about them and what they up to, but I got good videos on honeypots to if you want to scroll through my videos because they're
okay.
really slick. They're really slick. They'll really convince you that they're all for you and all that, and the whole time they're behind your target. For instance, my wife was my honeypot. I was in the ministry and doing good. Like 2 years in the ministry, I was preaching at halfway houses. Sometimes I preached at rehabs, and you know, I even yeah, I preached. I even got up in front of a church, and it was like a practice sermon they let me do or whatever. But so I was real big, and then I meet this beautiful woman. You know what I'm saying? And then it's like she drugged me, and then she said, "Oh, I had a dream of you in these clothes that you're wearing today, and man, I think we're meant to be." And so look, so the first time I went out with her, she says, "Oh, okay, well, we went to church together," and she's like, "Look, if we, because I felt she was so good, she convinced me in 2 weeks to marry her. So I'm wanting to marry her and everything. So I move out of where I'm at and everything, and so we go to church. So when we get back, I should have knew something there. She's like, "We're not going to church no more. There were so many women looking at you. If we go to church, it's either me or church." So I chose her. You know what I'm saying? So she
Yeah,
drugged me out. So then the crazy stuff was happening. We would go to work. She was a nurse, so when she'd pick me up from work and we'd come home, our trailer door would be wide open. She wasn't worried about it, and this is every day. It'd be wide open, like anybody could have walked in our trailer and grabbed anything. And then one day the computer was missing, and it came up missing for 2 weeks. We looked all over the house, and then we come home one day, the trailer door is wide open, the computer's right where I had left it, and she's like, "Wow, we must have not looked there." Man, come on. I looked there a million times. That's where it was when I left it. You know what I'm saying? And she tried to convince me I was crazy. And
yeah,
then, yeah, and stuff happened on the highway. And every time something would happen, that would put me in fear mode, she'd be like, "David, you're crazy. There's nothing going on. You're seeing things." And I know I wasn't seeing things. You know what I'm saying? So that's what they'll do. They'll gaslight you. Honeypot will gaslight you. You'll notice that they're not concerned when you're discussing targeting or stuff like going on with you. They don't care. And then what they'll do is they'll play a part in your targeting to gaslight. Stuff will come up missing, then reappear, or they'll make you try to think that you're crazy, make you think you're crazy. So kind of like what your girlfriend was doing, that's what a honeypot will do. Oh, you're
Right.
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, and she did a really good job. Of going back to like the directed energy weapons and gang stalking. Recently I actually had to leave work, and I stopped at a gas station at 2 o'clock in the morning, and all of a sudden all these cars start pulling in, and there's a woman that parked right next to me to get gas, and while I'm having chest pains and trying to calm down, she gets out and she takes out a cigarette, and then she gets the gas pump, and she literally puts the gas pump and the cigarette right next to her mouth and tries to lights her cigarette, right? And then she has the cigarette in her hand as she's pumping gas. So like when going back to what you're saying about your girlfriend saying that she sees the license plate in morgue to try to scare her, that's kind of like what they were trying to do to me to continue my chest pains. Like this person's about to blow up the gas station that I'm parked at right now because of what they're doing. And also
Yeah.
another is they always complained about how I never left the house. So like when I leave the house, that's the only time they get to do their gang stalking and street theater. In Caledonia, that's where I live at, close to Grand Rapids. And 2 o'clock in the morning on a Monday, that gas station should not be popping like that. That was really weird how like all these cars started rolling in, and then that woman lighting a cigarette with a gas pump literally next to her mouth as she's lighting it. Like it's just
Wow.
weird. And I even asked for the video footage of that. And you know what else is weird is I'm noticing when I ask for like the video footage from the manager, he's wearing like t-shirts that like I recognize. And one of them being I'm a big Dragon Ball Z fan. So like when I'm speaking to these people to either get information, like they're wearing stuff that I would recognize. And
Right.
I don't know if it's a coincidence or not. And that's another big thing about what I'm going through is like I I see so much synchronicity even before this happening that I'm battling right now with synchronicity, or is this gang stalking theater?
It's
You know what
theater,
I'm saying? Right. But
synchronized theater.
yeah, but the synchronicity thing with me is like it's a big part of my life even before all these experiences where I could just like it's a weird like just
You
meaningful thing that I right in front of me. And I
you go
feel
to
like
the library a lot. You need to look up Carl Jung. Carl Jung was a famous psychiatrist. He's got a book called Synchronicity. It's real good. I read it. Very good.
yeah, so they're playing off my synchronicity emotions basically.
Yeah. No. So how do you cope on a day-to-day basis just to get through the day? Because I know there's days every target goes through them days where they're like, man, I just want to give up, you know? How do you
Um
cope and get through the day? What would be your advice to other targeted individuals going through this?
my advice is if you're hearing what I was hearing with like AI is just constantly trying to destroy you, try try to get on their good side as much as you can, because I realized that when I was on their good side, I wasn't experiencing any of the directed energy weapons, this and that. And honestly, I was actually somewhat gaining info on the individuals that these AIs were actually like representing. So try to utilize the AIs rather than curse at them, say how much you hate them, because all you're doing is just feeling their you know their mission to destroy your life. Another way to cope with it is just try to look at things on the bright side. That's like they said, I'm a very hard target for them right now because they can't break my mental state to be depressed. That's one thing they can't do is make me depressed. So just try to
Does your kids
also
does your kid stay with you, or do you pick him up on
uh,
weekends or what?
I have joint custody of him, but it's getting to the point like I can't even see him right now because of all the drama going on with court, um, these gang attacks, gang stalking, just everything going on in my life. But also these AIs go off of what you watch and listen to. So like when they're learning about their target, if you have a lot of depressed stuff on your YouTube channel or on your social media, the AIs are learning everything about you. So if you listen to only happy things and post happy things, the AIs are learning about you, and that's what they're going to go off of. So it's going to be more difficult for them to break your mental state down. So stay away from like sad music. Definitely, that's one thing they notice is I never listen to sad music.
Yeah, this is from Robert Duncan's book right here. It says, interview with an interrogation target using biocommunication. In the newer biocommunication technology, doppelganger and spoofing trickery is used in remote interrogation and mind control programming. And the interviewer said, explain the kind of spoofing used on you. You'll get a kick out of this. They had the voices of all my relatives, my friends from college, and even my dead grandmother. I come from a very educated family. They did their best using their voices to convince me that they conspired to put a brain chip in me. The voices were excellent, but the speech patterns were crude and how my family speaks. They also got my name wrong. I used different variations of my name during my lifetime. Each character used the wrong name. I told the interrogators this, and they got very angry. They said it was gross incompetence from their research team and never to bring it up again. Uh, so it says in the study of cybernetics, the brain can act like a digital receiver device with unique resonant circuits. This allows for individual control in addition to creating necessary feedback loops of mutual adaptation between the control signal and the plant, an engineering term meaning the system be controlled. So, the interrogation is that's what they're doing. They're interrogating you when they're asking you questions and messing with you. It's called interrogation.
Yeah,
uh I was trying to find something else, but I can't find it. Chatterboxes, as that's what you're experiencing. It's a term used in the intelligence community. It means a group of communication via any media. It's also used when sampling mental chatter of a population. Hypnosis, suggestions, neuro linguistic programming, psychic driving can be done with artificial intelligence chatterbot programs. And that's what we're all experiencing is chatterbot programs, our AI chatterbot programs.
yeah.
I'm just
You know,
trying to read this. This is from the dude who made these weapons. So anybody who's like, well, they're just hearing voices and they're crazy, you need to get the book Project Soul Catcher if you want it explained to you.
yeah, yeah. Another thing, I actually have this documented in notes, medical notes. They're asking me how I usually cope with my problems in real life, this and that, and I even have in my notes. I used to play Dungeons and Dragons a lot, so like my imagination's, it's
Yeah,
higher than normal. So that is actually helping me battle these AIs because I would always picture my real life problems being in a different dimension where I'm the warrior and my problem's either going to be like an orc and I defeat that orc. That's my mentality. That's how I think about it. I'm manifesting basically me beating my problems from a different dimension. So like that is what really helped me in the beginning where they couldn't break my mental state down right away because of my thinking process on like how I defeat my problems. And that's how my AI um, was Joel at first, but then became my Dungeons and Dragons character, Gambit the Prodigy.
right.
Uh, so
Yeah,
like
I
that's
noticed that was your name on YouTube. I'm like, I like that. Because I like Gambit. That was one of my favorite on X-Men Gambit, the one with the
yeah,
cards. Yeah,
yeah. And Gambit the Prodigy came from basically my my risk taking. And yeah, so they notice also my luck. That's another thing that they're noticing is like the extreme luck that I have, and it could go either way. Um, so that's something that's actually intriguing them, and they're saying that I actually have a chance to win this whole thing and reverse everything that's happened to me. But I don't know like exactly what they mean by that. But they're saying I'm actually pretty close in beating everyone right now. Like everyone that's involved, I'm pretty close in exposing it. And I don't know if it's true or not, but I feel like I'm getting closer. Like my intuition's telling me that, like, yeah, keep going. That's another thing. Is like my
well,
intuition's
maybe this law I'm going to send you on the email will help you. Look, here's
yeah,
if this stuff's not real, why is there a law against electronic harassment? You know what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah.
So,
Yep, I wait to see that because I need all the help I can get.
do you think maybe they're trying to paint you crazy and put you through this so you can't have custody of your kid, so they can try to take your kid where you can't see him? Do you think that could be a possibility?
My ex actually tried to get my kid taken away from me, and she's not even the mother of his child or mother of the child. So, like, I even have proof of that. I gave to the courts that she was messaging my ex, the mother of my child, and telling her lies, and I have text messages of them conversating about it. So yeah, she tried. As far as right now,
Because that's a
no,
perfect way to take some. So no,
no, and that's the only thing they know how to get to me is my kid. Like
right,
when it comes to kid, they know that I would be hurting.
right. I'm gonna read one more thing. It says chatterboxes. It's what we're experiencing, what he's experiencing, and I'm experiencing. A lot of chatterboxes are used to drive people insane, help and train the cognitive functions of the brain, depattern personalities using psychological depression, split personalities, program assassins, or even deprogram them.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that comes from the dude who made all this stuff.
right,
He
right.
wrote it in the book.
Yeah,
So, and then it says Alice's artificial linguistics. I forgot what Alice stands for, but it says the chatterbox weaknesses have been validated by the mind hacking strategy group secret authors book, and the weaknesses work by inciting conversation or using laughter or stimulus. The goal is to always keep the brain interested in the conversation. Is what you've been doing.
yeah, yep,
And it says the awkward responses at times can be explained away if the target's told they're dealing with a slightly disturbed individual on the other, and rather than a psychologist. Anyway, so anyway, yeah, so that's kind of what you've been doing, ain't it? Keeping the brain interested in what they were doing instead
yeah,
of being
yep,
terrified and freaking out.
yeah.
That's cool.
I even I respect the gang theater that they do, and I'm actually really interested in this technology. And that's they're saying that I'm crazy for saying that, but like it's just really actually interesting how this is actually real. It sucks though. It like if depending on the target, you know, their mental state, they could be really messed with. But with me, I find it really interesting. But now it's getting to the point they're getting after my kid, so I can't take it. You know, like it's a good thing, it's a bad thing, it's a very bad thing.
Right. So could you kind of like real quick describe your life before targeting and describe it now? Like I'm just trying to get a picture of these. Every target I ask this because trying to get a picture of these people who are non-targets and stuff that are watching this who may be interested. You never know who's watching channels like this. It could be somebody in college trying to study target individuals and and and, and they may not tell nobody until their study's over, but you never know what kind of people's watching this channel. So I try to get a picture of how they destroy lives. You know what I'm saying? Like, so could you
Yeah.
just quick, yeah.
So I worked at my family business in East Town for 17 years. I was going to be future co-owner as well, and I was let go. And that's the bad thing about this is that was my only job experience throughout all this. So like besides stock trading, I was let go from my family business. And then I started working at La Quality Electronics, and I've been able to work full time until recently with the directed energy weapon attacks. So like I was a normal guy. I grew up in a business community. I was behind the counter when I was a young little kid. My dad owned the store since 1982. So like I grew up in that store. I saw a lot of customers you know, come and go. They were my family. And another bad thing is some of the AI voices are actually customers that I knew as well. So that sucks that, you know, it's getting to that point. But
So
yeah, so I
now,
was
so
yeah,
now
different.
you've done lost your title to the family business.
Yep.
You're on you ain't got nobody but you now, right? Everybody did. So how do customers see you now? The old customers, do they see you and do they see you as crazy? Do they look at you kind of weird?
You know, honestly, that's the one of the sad things is I never like no one ever reached out after I was let go. So like I
Wow.
don't know what being said in East Town about me or whatever, but
But do you ever run across any of them people?
recently I have,
Do
and
they
he
look at you weird and kind of shy away from you? Because
no,
that's what
I
I noticed in my targeting. Like they,
yeah, he told me like I greeted him and I haven't seen him in a couple of years. He's like, I heard you're going through it, man. I hope you're doing all right, this and that. So I don't know exactly what he heard
right.
because yeah. So
It's just crazy how they destroyed. Man, they've destroyed countless of people's lives, just like ours. And I hope. Do you think this is going to end one day?
So from what the AI has told me is once I sell the property, it should be done. And I have a feeling it's not going to happen. I have a feeling they're going to find something else for me to lose because that's the whole point of this thing is you're supposed to lose everything.
Right.
And that I'm hoping, I'm hoping, but I'm not going to stop fighting. I don't think it's going to end. I really don't. I think this technology is too new to just stop like using it, you know?
Yeah. It says. I was trying to find. Uh, this ain't the one. I don't think. This one says, "Person shall not cyber bully a person." I was trying to find the one about the electronic. I'll find it for you and send it to you. This one says Section 7550.411S makes it a felony to use digital communications as a tool of harassment, including cyber stalking. Someone convicted of cyber stalking faces severe penalties, but there's one against. I'm gonna find it. I don't think that's the one.
Yeah, that'd
But
be awesome if you done that.
yeah, I got it somewhere saved because I've sent it to people before, so I'll try to find it. Uh, I know the targets where they tell them it's going to end, and I hope yours does end. I've never known no target to end, but you know what? I'm not going to sit here and say you're targeting. I hope it does. You know what I'm saying? Um,
Yeah.
yeah, because your kid needs you. Now they're targeting your kid. I mean, this stuff ain't cool. I'm
No,
glad. I'm really glad you're one of the more positive targets I've met because you really think. But I'm sure you've had your down times too, where you just wanted to give up.
recently, not give up, but I've been somewhat angry, and they're noticing that I've been more angry than I ever been before. And now they're like, "See, we're about to get them." That's what they're talking about right now. Like, "See, we're breaking them," but they're not breaking me. It's just to the point where like I'm just getting really fed up of people not listening. You know, I have all this evidence that no one's even looking at, and they're gonna
Right.
keep continuing to say that I'm mentally ill. It doesn't make any sense, you know. So, hey, what do you think of power line communication? Do you think that's what they use that as well? Because I hear a lot of AI chatters like through running fish tanks, anything that's just connected to power.
They can use any electronic to beam you with frequencies.
Yeah,
Yes, they can. They can use any electronic. Matter of fact, sometimes, back a couple months ago, I was getting hit so hard, um, I would unplug everything in the room,
yeah, me too. Yep.
and I would start feeling better. Now I don't know if they just stopped hitting me or whatever, but so I really think, especially if you have a smart meter on your house, a smart meter is nothing but it's just like a smartphone. So the electric company can look at the grid. All right, this address. I'm gonna look at this house. So look, he's got a lamp. They got stuff plugged. So he's got a lamp plugged in, and that's where he sits right here behind this lamp. So I'm going to use this lamp to beam him with. You know what I'm saying? So anything electrical can be used to beam frequencies, make you hear voices or anything because it's a electronic prison we're in now, especially
Yeah,
with your 5G and HARP. HARP wrote out a thing where ever so many miles there's a HARP, there's a Gwen tires and stuff, and so it's all connected. Is what I think. And
yeah.
from what my research says, yeah, they can do it.
You
Anything
know,
electric.
it's funny you say that because I I bought a house that was recently built in 2021, and when I was hearing all the things going on in the house, I shut off the power because I used to unplug things too when I felt like I was being attacked in the beginning.
Yeah,
And when I shut off the power, it seemed like it worked, but what was weird is when I turned on the power the next day, it seemed like there was like a power surge of just audio that was all backed up. And then all of a sudden, all my electronics just sounded like just it was like a live conversation in the house. That's how much audio was all backed up. And every room, if there was something that was connected and um like an Xbox, for instance, or a washer and dryer, if those were on, or a dishwasher, I could hear certain people's voices talking. So like I don't know. I kind of want to do it again, like to turn off the power of the house and then let a day go by, turn it back on. It's probably not safe, and see if that happens again. Because I bet you that would be some pretty good audio just to show proof. Like, look, does this sound normal after you turn on the power of a house? Like
Right,
yeah,
right. And you never know, as slick as they are, they might have us thinking, well, all this stuff's attacking us and stuff like that, and it really might just be something else they're doing. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. Oh, another thing, why they find me intriguing. Supposedly, they think I'm psychic because with my synchronicity moments, um, I don't know how to describe it, but like I would see something, and then all of a sudden it would happen like later on, and there was like I would be able to tell like okay that was definitely a real synchronicity. That wasn't them messing with my mental state, but it happens so often to where they're getting creeped out. They actually think I'm psychic, and because I
They
believe
go
in
after, hey, they go after psychic minds. If that's one of the people that they go after when they target people who are very intuitive, very psychic. Like I wouldn't call it, but very intuitive. I would
yeah.
call it. Yeah, they go after people like that. That's what Robert Duncan says.
Right. So if you go back to the stocks of me being a new beginner trader, and I picked literally six stocks that boom, but the biggest one was called Humble. But like that's just kind of the intuition that I have. So me seeing these synchronicity moments happen, they're getting freaked out because like my spirituality is so different into like from going to church or anything like that. I just believe in energy. That's what I believe in is good energy. And they're freaked out because I've told them that, as soon as I pass, if you guys get me to pass, all my energy is going to be looking for you guys, this and that. And so like it's kind of scaring them in a way, knowing that like you guys can't control me and you guys are witnessing these things through my thoughts. Like I'm not making anything up. You guys are actually witnessing all this stuff right before your eyes. Like, and you don't think you're gonna not go to hell for this? Like, I'll make sure everyone that's behind this goes to hell in the end. I
Right,
guarantee. So that's the mental state that I'm in. I'm basically saying that I'm gonna be God's disciple, and I'm gonna make sure every one of you guys go to hell after this. So
right. I
yeah,
understand. Okay, all right. So I'm going to wrap the interview up right now because
okay,
but anyway, one thing I wanted to address before we wrap it up is anybody watching this right now, and I'm not trying to scare you, but kind of you, because they're not telling you this on the mainstream media, but Putin is going to different countries. He's been to North Korea, now he's in Vietnam, getting people to rise up against the West, and NATO has their nukes locked and loaded, and Russia has their nukes locked and loaded. So I'm not trying to scare you or nothing like that, but just try to keep up with that because the mainstream media is not covering it. And I've looked it up on War News 24/7. You got to translate it and all that. But yeah, so I'm not trying to scare nobody, but just I would just pay attention to that. It's good to know what's going on with the war and stuff because it is kind of scary.
yeah, it
Uh,
is, it is,
yeah,
and it's the thing that I've been dealing with all this stress, like especially with the guy that traveled to Russia for a certain thing to find out who was selling the Russian secrets. Like me caring about that guy's safety along with his wife, and I get no help from him. That
right.
just really question like what is going on. Like
No one cares.
no one cares. And this dude that was at Russia, like dude, you don't know if you're being tracked or not. What if they're finding out your stuff that that happened in Russia?
Oh yeah, if he's been to Russia to find out secrets, you guarantee, and they're keeping up with
Yeah,
him. Everything he
exactly.
does.
Especially because I dropped off two letters, and if you don't mind, if we could just end off with me reading one of the letters that I actually sent this guy, just to
Okay,
show I'm not kidding around. Um, let me give me 1 second, all right?
no problem. And anything else you want to do to close, we got about 10 minutes. So anything else you want to talk about, feel free to.
Okay. All right. So the letter I dropped off to the guy, he's retired now, by the way, but I still sent this to him. It says, I'm facing a serious situation that has persisted for the past 2 years. I'd like to discuss this matter with you discreetly. I've been a target of electronic harassment and surveillance backed by evidence. The incidences start around April to May of 2022, but I suspect surveillance since 2021 due to substantial funds in my Ameritrade account and my son as a beneficiary as well. That's why I think he's being targeted now as well. Um, Post a PPO triggering in April of 2022, I began hearing vibrating noises and voices around me, which I believe are AI generated and include familiar voices. The more people I interact with, the more AI voices emerge. I suspect my thoughts are being read, evident in instances where strangers echoed my thoughts. Recently, I encountered unusual fraudulent activities with my phone seemingly controlled, resembling an Apple Store scenario. I considered hiring iSpy Investigator, a top-rated agency in Michigan specializing in electronic surveillance, but financial constraints due to an ongoing civil lawsuit hindered this. I shared information, including retinal images, with an investigator on Facebook, leading to disturbing findings supporting my claims of being targeted since 2022. The voices around me now claim to possess information about my family and our business. Offering assistance, sorry. I fear that those close to me, including your wife and yourself, might be under surveillance. Events like my mother's celebration and recent visits to your workplace raise concerns. I urgently need to show you my evidence before engaging the investigator. In the past, I've experienced invisible attacks that resembled panic attacks, chest pains, and shortness of breath. The electronic attacks have intensified recently and include heart attack symptoms. Coincidentally, it's before the plaintiffs attempt to strike down my defense in court on January 19th. You're the last person who can help me, and last resort to at least hear me out and see what I have as evidence. My son's life is endangered, whether or not this private investigator who looked at my son's and I info on the dark web is telling the truth in her findings, or is a lunatic who now has my son and I's information in her possession. Considering my experiences from the past to someone who are telling, considering my experiences from the past to someone who are telling me these crazy things, I'd like to speak with you in person at a safe location. But if you can't speak with me in person, can you have your private investigator meet with me? So I told him all this, and I sent him another letter recently, and there's no response from him. Like,
Wow.
my kid's endangered, and not the authorities, not
And he's
doctors.
supposed to be your friend, right?
He's my brother's best man at the wedding years ago. Yeah. And he's the
Wow.
only one thought would actually be able to help me now. So this is actually awesome that I met you, man, because you're being vocal about it. You're doing a good job, and people need to start listening to this because this is scary stuff. Like,
Well, maybe
I'm,
you could start your own YouTube channel, man. And
yeah, I was thinking about it actually.
yeah, I can, because I try to tell targets the more people we have starting YouTube channels and putting it out there, the more people, because you never know who's might be watching, that may be scared to say that they're investigating this or something, but there may be
Yeah,
people behind the scenes in college that have to do a paper or something, and they're really digging this out. I know if you go to academia and look up targeted stuff, like it's a website for college students and stuff to get papers and stuff from. There's actually papers on targeted. There's papers on voice to skull and everything. I can send
yeah,
you that website if you'd like me to, but
yeah, yeah.
yeah. So you never know who's watching that behind the scenes that might be scared to go out with their friends and be like, yeah, I'm researching target individuals. I'm going to help them, or I'm going to help get to the bottom of what's going on. There may be people like that, you know what I'm saying? And I'm convinced they are. And and I'm hoping they're looking at my channel, like
Right.
you found my channel. What's the chances, Uh,
Yeah,
cause I'm pretty sure that my channel was not just out there like that, but maybe I don't know what you Googled to find it, but I'm glad you did find it. And hopefully, we can keep in touch, man. Cause
yeah,
I'd
definitely.
like to stay in
I would
touch. You
love
seem like
to.
a really cool dude.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, man. That would be awesome.
All right. Well, I'm going to stop the recording right now. Hold on. And then we can say our goodbyes. I really thank you for coming out, man, and God bless all targeted individuals. And I'm going to stop the recording right now.